welcome to Bloom in Full Color, where we live life in high definition. So today I'm sitting here like stretching my back. The topic of today's podcast is the importance of rest. Okay, so I'm going to be the first one to admit I suck at rest. And Rhonda's laughing because Rhonda's actually really good at rest. And so Dave and I both agree we are terrible at rest. But I have hit a point where rest has become such... my body is now forcing me to take rest because I push too hard all the time. And I've pushed myself into a health situation that has gotten me to where it's like, oh, no, we're going to make your life absolute hell if you don't listen to us. So I'm sitting here going around because I slept really well last night, as we were just talking about. And I think I tweaked my back because I slept so well. Because according to Fitbit, I'm a bear, which I'm usually a dolphin or a giraffe who don't sleep well. Well, the bear apparently hibernates, so I'm sleeping just fine lately. But I think that in today's world, everything's just going a million miles an hour all the time. It's no longer an 8-hour workday. It's a 24-hour workday. I was actually listening to a book called The Power of One More by Ed Milet last week, and he breaks down his week by the day, but he gets 3 days out of each day. So it's 6 a.m. to noon, noon to 6, and then 6 to midnight. So he treats one day as 3 days so that he's way more productive. Well, I unfortunately do something similar to that. Obviously not as organized as Ed Milet because he knows his shit. But I try to pack so much into so little time all the time that I will stretch myself so thin there's nothing left at the end of the day. So what do you do for rest, Dave?
What do I do for rest? I watch TV.
I was like, you binge watch shows.
I think you got to look at what makes you happy. Hobbies, stamp collecting. Sorting stamps to me is cool. Soaking stamps is cool. So, but it's relaxful. And what will happen is I could have a very stressful day at work.
Yeah. I
could work on stamps for 2 hours and be like, wow, your blood pressure's perfect, because it just gets you off that mental stress that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So having something that you're able to do that brings your heart rate down, that brings your mind level down, and it doesn't have to be stamp, it can be whatever works for you. Maybe it's yoga for somebody else, and maybe it's, music or whatever. I love music too, and that
whatever that is for you. What do you do for rest, Rhonda?
It depends on the time of the year.
Okay, that's fair.
So
I'm the same way.
Yeah. In the summer, I've created these 3 places at my house: my Zen garden, my moon garden, and my sunset bench.
Okay, I've seen you in all of those places.
Yes. So I enjoy, in the evenings, get a glass of wine, go out and either go watch the moon or sit out by the fireplace in the Zen garden, or go sit on the bench and watch the sunset. Those are some of my favorite things to do at the end of the day to unwind. And then this time of the year, a lot of times I'm in the living room doing yoga, meditating, falling asleep on the couch.
All those things.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Those sound a little more normal. I think I like what you said. You created a space, right? So
Yes.
You've created a space which then helps you follow through on the habit of creating a restful routine.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a routine of not watching television. This is like almost a divorce point between my husband and I. So he is like you. He likes to watch TV. He really is into it.
But I don't turn it on when I get home. Generally, I don't turn it on until after 9 o'clock because I think there's things that we need to get accomplished, my wife and I together, or there's other things that we need to do because what happens if you sit down and watch TV? Nothing else gets done.
I don't. I'm in bed by 9. So there's part of my rest. So we were just talking about this. The human body, the female human body. Obviously I'm biased. Paying a little more attention to my gender. 9 hours of sleep is what a human female should get in her adult years. And children, it's probably like 10 to 12. But every teenager probably stretches that out as far as possible. I'm getting into that. My daughters are sleeping in later and later all the time. But sleep has been a really important thing to me. So I'll get home and I try not to. Brandon and I don't sit down until we're ready to not do anything because we're going to lose it. But I don't have the capacity to watch a show 5 or 6 days a week. My family's lucky if they get 1 or 2 shows out of me in a week. That's how little I watch television because it it doesn't make me feel restful. It makes me feel like I'm wasting time and I'm losing time. And then I feel guilty if I'm sitting down and I have all these things to do. And so I'm in a guilt cycle when it comes to rest. And I'm working on ways to get out of that. And then also negotiating with myself, hey, how much energy do you have right now? Because that's currency. So it'd be like, how much money do we go to dinner, right? How much money is in the wallet? Do we go to dinner? Mine is a currency exchange. So how much how much energy do I have for that task? And if I don't have the energy, I say, okay, that is going to be first on your list tomorrow. So I've actually gotten that better, and that's helping mitigate the guilt a little bit of resting. But so stressful part of the season. One of my stress mechanisms, and this really sucked during COVID because I lost the ability to do this. On a bad day, I would buy concert tickets. That was just what I did. So I had something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. Music's really important to me. I kind of, I'll tend to listen to a podcast or a book on the way to work, and then I'll listen to heavy headbang metal or rock reggae on the way home, depending on the day. Sometimes it's death metal and it's kill, and other days it's like, hey, we're on a boat, we're fine. It just depends. It could be anything. And I spend time with my pets. That's important to me. I do a ton of reading. So one of my unplug activities is warm Epsom salt bath, glass of water, and my book. And if I'm feeling a little spooky or if it's around a moon, I've got my candles going on and my crystals around. And got my essential oils in the water. I might have made moon water, thrown it in. That's a whole nother podcast. But it's creating those rituals. And so I have some, but I don't have enough.
Yeah. Do you think that sleep patterns are learned or are they genetic?
I think they're both. I think that genetically, so I'll pick on one of my autoimmune diseases. I have Graves' disease. That affects your sleep. I don't sleep well. I don't sleep well at all. It's really challenging for me. So if I have exercise as part of my routine, if I've drank enough water, and I have the proper lifestyle kind of schedule mapped out, like I have an alarm at 6:45 that goes off that says, start getting ready for bed. And then I have an 8 o'clock alarm that says, go plug me in and put your workout clothes out and get your ass to bed. That is literally what my 2 alarms say. Like, because if I don't have that, I'll sit and just dink off on TikTok. I'll sit up and watch TV. Like, God, I fell asleep. We were just talking about this at 7:47 last night because I was exhausted.
So what happens when your schedule is upended? So on Mother's Day week here, and you're not even home until 9 o'clock. So
I usually fall into a pile of mush when I walk through the door. So actually, my husband came home last night because we're both business owners, right? And he does cabinets and countertops. So Brandon comes home and he's like, I'm worried about something. And that's never how he starts a conversation. He's a pretty easygoing guy. So I'm like, okay, let's hear it. What do you got? And he goes, I'm going to be just as busy as you during peak, during your busy. And he's been in a thrash for the last 2.5, 3 months. He's working 12 to 14 hour days, 7 days a week. And that's just, that's the nature of the game. So I'm picking up the slack with the kids. I'm making sure that I'm doing all the meal prepping. His coffee maker's always full of coffee. I had to give up caffeine per the doctor. I'm like dying right now. So that's another part. Sleep is a little easier when you don't drink caffeine though. And then I'm making sure that he's got his hard-boiled eggs because he eats 3 of them with pepper and hot sauce, and he's got to have salami slices. Like I go get him trail mix and jerky so that he's got something to fuel him through the day in case they're on a job site and can't get away for lunch. Those are the things I do when he's during peak. When it's my peak or our peak, he's in charge of dinner. He's got the kids. He's taking care of all the extra stuff that you have to do. I still do the shopping. I just don't do as much of the cooking during that time. But it's hard. It's not going to be easy. So his concern is I'm going to be just as busy as you are during peak. And it's just, him and I just kind of looked at each other and said, we'll figure it out. And maybe this is the time where my dad really becomes grandpa. Maybe it's something like that. He keeps telling us he wants to just be that grandpa. And I'm like, all right, well, hold my beer. I can make that happen. So, I think everybody has a different time. So, what do we do right after season? We all plan a vacation, right?
Right.
Yes.
You plan time off. So that's something I'm also terrible about. So I've already started to say, okay, what do I want to do in July? Because we know that our season is nuts busy. Well, and we know January through June is just kind of, it's at your SOL. You're in it. Now you might be able to take some time in early March. You might, if the season is, if the weather's warming up pretty quickly, you might get the end of June sooner than you think. But it's all dependent on Mother Nature. So we're looking out at 6 inches of snow on the ground while we're recording this. Spring doesn't seem close right now, even though we're looking at the numbers that's going out through production right now, and we're planting a lot of stuff. And that's so that when it is warm, that we're set. So how does the Moss family train? So we got some family habits. We plan our vacations. Once it starts to get really stupid busy, we're like, okay, where am I going? When am I going? So you have something to look forward to. So it just helps you just take that edge off, because otherwise you just sit in this perpetual state of, I'm stressed, I'm living in it, I'm feeling it, and it like almost compounds it. Or at least that's how I operate. Like my mind just gets stuck there and I can't really get out of it. And so I got to kind of, rattle the cage a little bit between the ears and go, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? I'm actually right now, and I probably need to pick your brain at one point. There's a couple of couples that we know. We're actually doing a family-friendly trip. We're all bringing our kids. We're going to Nashville in July of 24. And so we're planning a Nashville, Chattanooga, Tennessee trip, and for the end of July. And we're kind of excited about it. But that's a year and a half away.
I think you could look at it. I look at time off, resting and things like that. My generation, from my perspective, we were taught work. If you work, you're going to be successful. Put in an honest day's work and care for your family. All right. So I've done that for the last 45 years.
Yeah.
But I never learned to take time off to recharge your batteries up until the last few years. And whereas, I felt really guilty about taking a 2-week vacation.
Now you do it regularly.
Now it's, last 3 years has been, I cannot wait now.
Yeah, you do it regularly now.
So it took me a long time to learn that. And unfortunately, there's things I can't get back, because of that. Family memories, kids and all that. So it's,
So I would say that, and maybe you speak to this with Jacob too, because you and I are close to the same generation.
Yeah.
We're the new generations kind of come up is talking about work-life balance. That's really important to them. And I'm watching, we were talking about this earlier, people who have just retired and they immediately pass away because of cancer or something. There's no reason not to take the trip. You can always make more money.
Right.
You don't have to follow the old traditional ways. And see, in my family, it was, okay, you want to recharge? Go skiing for the weekend. Go get outside. Like, we're very outside. The stamp collecting, I pick on Dave. I actually mentioned that on a phone call last night. We were talking about Tennessee. I was like, well, as long as we're not trying to go do stamp collecting or anything. And my best friend goes, stamp collecting? I was like, oh, sorry. Inside joke. It's no, outdoor activities. That's what we're shooting for. Because you can do stamp collecting 12 months out of the year.
Absolutely.
I can only go skiing in the winter unless I'm on the other side of the globe itself, And so those activities are really important to me. But you have, Rhonda, some other activities built into yours. Like you have like Miracle.
Oh, yeah.
Built in. You've got some rituals.
A few years ago, there was a very stressful thing that was happening here. And so I had decided that every other week I would go to Miracle, no matter what. That was where I was going to release all of the stress and tension. I loved it. So I actually got some other people around here to do that as well. So that's kind of their routine now. They go wherever
you go.
Yeah, not with me. No, I was like, go by yourself.
Yes. Well, I was like, you're not having any work-life balance here.
Oh, no. No, I have always tried to maintain that work-life balance. I'm big at that. I have no problem saying no if it's coming into my personal time.
You are really good at that. I watch several other women, and I don't think any of us really qualify on this group.
I definitely don't.
No, it's true. But you've been married to some, I'm sure. So women who are mothers who just feel like they have to do it all. So they're working full time, managing a household, and raising the kids. They may or may not have a partner who's actively involved, or they may or may not be with a partner. So single mom trying to juggle all things. I watch my kid's mother does this. Macy is very involved. She's very dedicated. She's an extremely hard worker, but she does not take time for herself well. And so it's really a labor of love for her to be like, okay, I am going to intentionally set time aside for myself. It's just not something she does well. And I'd be a victim of this too, I don't set time aside for myself, and mine's not usually kids, mine's work and community activities I've committed to, and friend stuff. Try to have a social life and be a business owner. That's just about impossible. I'm trying, by golly, friends. I promise. You just kind of got to strategize it. And it's okay if you don't see your friend who lives 2 blocks away for 5 months at a time. That's okay. Because that's the real world, and that's how life works. And then you find that your social circles shift, right? So I have my personal friends, then I have my business friends, and then, it's kind of evolved. And then those have begun to meld into each other quite a bit. And so your activities that you do for rest change. Like I go to Float Magic pretty regularly. So I'm either floating or doing a Novathor, or I've started to sauna. That's an exercise in discomfort for me, at least. A lot of people like hot. I don't. I'm a cold person. I've been doing cold plunges too. I've taken a break the last couple of weeks because my body's kind of going haywire. But it's really just intentional time that nobody can reach me. Nobody can find me unless they see my car. And that doesn't happen very often. Good news. And so I can take that time and just go. And we kind of have to strategize between my brother and I, who's going to be gone. Like he's going golfing with my husband next week, and they're going down to Mesquite. I cover so that he can cover me, so we can go to Phoenix and see grandparents the following month. So it's just kind of this juggle, but you don't always get the rest where you need it. So how do you build it into your week? That's the kicker.
Well, I don't know. I like the balance. I try to, and I know it's not probably something that you can do very often because you're a business owner. I am not.
But do you know how awesome it sounds sometimes to work just 40 hours for somebody else?
I can imagine.
Yeah. My husband and I actually had a moment a couple of weeks ago where we both sit down on the couch and we were just drained. And I just look at him and he goes, how cool would it be if somebody else signed the paycheck? I was like, oh. We dream about it for like 5 minutes and then we got to like shake it off. And so, we sat there and like, okay, we're done now. All right. We're back to being who we are. There's, you know what I do? I actually, if anyone listens regularly, I color code my calendar. So yellow is self-care. So that could be getting my hair done. That could be CrossFit. That could be going to do a float. So if there's not yellow in my week, I know there's a problem. Now, if the only yellow is CrossFit, that's not exactly relaxing necessarily.
But it is for you.
It is for me because it gets an aggression out because I have a lot of energy. I'm not good at calm, but I also keep track of how much I read. And so I can tell, like last year I read 75 books. The year before that, it was like 125. Like I read a ton. But that cuts into my sleep when I read because I will just sit in the bath. I'll go into the bathtub about 7, and then next thing you know, it's 9:30 and the water's cold, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta get to bed. And then I'll go to bed and then read for another hour or two.
But that's restful. So there's a difference between restful and
my body
sleep.
is resting, and that I have to remind myself. So when I have hard sleep, my mother taught me this. I could sit there and just get pissed. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you're just like, I mean, you're full on Tourette's. And then I have to be like, you know what? Your body is in a resting state. You are laying here. That is the best you can do with the circumstances you are given right now. So relax. And usually I can get through it. It's tough.
Whatever takes your mind off of the day-to-day activities. It doesn't matter that you're reading or that you're gardening or that you are singing or playing music or whatever that is, whatever that works for that individual. It's that getting that mindset out of the day that you just came out of.
And doing something different than you do in your day. Like, so when I read, I don't read anything conventional. Everything I read is either a sci-fi or a fantasy or complete fabrication. I don't read anything about anything that I could see at all ever in my day-to-day life. I can't. I'm not capable of it. We won't talk about my selection of books because it's not quite appropriate. But like people would be like, oh, this contemporary fiction or this historical romance, and I'm like, no, I'm not reading that. Because if anything, like just somebody reminds me of somebody at work, I'm just like, nope, I'm out. I'm not reading it. Because that is my disconnect. It has to be totally different. So it could be a warrior goddess from the fairy, world or that I'm down. I'm not going to run into her at any point in my
that's
day.
a whole conversation.
I
in
mean,
itself.
we might
I
have
have friends
Lucifer
that
and
love true crime,
the angels,
and they
fighting
they
each
will
other.
pass out
I don't. It
listening
could
to
be
any
anything,
kind of true crime,
but it's
and
not
that-
anything I'm going to run into
that
in my
stresses
day.
me out.
And that's
Like
why
I
that's
don't.
really
Her
important.
eyelids were cut off. Her fingertips were cut off, and they're knocked out. And I'm like, yeah. Like I would.
Yes,
Some
absolutely.
of my gal pals would come over and we would watch Dahmer. They would pass out, and I'm sitting there like, I feel
You're
terrible.
just falling asleep.
It's not a feel good show.
Who's outside my window right now? That's
Okay. Oh, I can fall asleep to CSI and Criminal Minds and all that, and I've got my kids to that, and Brandon is just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, well, and he likes those canned laughter sitcoms,
Oh.
and I cannot sleep to canned laughter. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. I don't mind some of the shows, but you will not see me watch them a lot. So
Me neither. No, that's
I actually fell asleep to the movie Snatch by Guy Ritchie for 2 years solid in college.
I have
know
a
that
weird
entire
story
movie
where
by
I
heart.
actually found
An
a
entire
community
movie.
of people that fall
was
asleep
just-
to the same
it was
thing
in
I do.
college. I couldn't sleep.
really
well, so
weird.
I
It's
put
a show.
something
I don't
on
know if you've heard of it.
and I could fall
Futurama.
asleep.
It's a canceled
And
show
I knew the
recently.
movie
Coming
so
back.
well,
It's been
so that
canceled
was the
multiple
thing.
times.
Like I watched Snatch every single night.
I just used to fall asleep to it. It was the only thing that would let me fall asleep. And I found a community that has thousands of people called Futurama sleepers. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think it's because it would come on like Adult Swim
Yeah.
at like midnight, and I would stay up to watch it, and then I would pass out to it. And my brain just like, it's weird what your brain mixes with relaxation, even
funny.
just based on context, not really the source material itself, but just the context of when,
Yeah.
where, how.
It'd be on.
I don't like that.
Mhm.
All right.
I made
so
that
let's talk
decision
about health here
4
for a
years
second.
ago,
Who has
and
a
I-
television
it-
in their bedroom?
I do, but
We
I never
do.
turn it on.
I don't.
My wife sleeps with the television.
Really? Okay.
It's hard
I-
for me. I mean, it's like
I can't
So-
handle it. Yeah, we moved into this house, and actually the last house too. I was like, no TV. It's not happening. The blue light, it messes with me. So my phone doesn't even come in the bedroom either.
Hmm.
So
like says, I go to bed when I'm ready to go to bed. So at that point, if the TV's on, I'm
good.
already
Your
out.
body's
So
that smart.
it's-
My body is not that smart. It just can't handle that. It doesn't know how to navigate.
and half the times it'd be like, well, you were at when you hit the pillow. Well, yeah, my body was telling me it was time to go to
Yeah,
bed.
it was time. Yeah. No, we'll actually kick each other out of the living room. So Brandon was gonna kick me out, but I was dead to the world last night. So I woke up at 9:30, and I was like, oh, America's Got Talent. I am definitely getting up and going. I do not want to watch this. But I spent a little bit of time out there. I watched one episode of Vikings, which we started months ago, and I disconnected. I'm like the worst person as far as watching a show because I have commitment issues. Because that is not the way I want to spend my time. I could be writing. I could be reading. I could be climbing a mountain. I could be in the bathtub. I could be anywhere else but watching TV. I don't gain anything. Now there's some really good shows. So I'm trying to get there. It's a family time thing. And it's also winter. So, in the summer, there's 1,000 other things I want to be doing. So, all right. So I guess I'm going to give everybody homework. We need to find a rest activity. So something that fills your cup somehow in a restful way, whether that's CrossFit, whether that's learning to box, maybe that's your thing. I could get down with that. That would be me all day. But also my homework, I am going to try some more breathing exercises and yoga twice a week. And that's going to be a stretch for me. And that's a lot for me. But I am going to try that. What would yours be, Rhonda?
Besides what I already do.
You already probably have it dialed in, don't you?
I do yoga quite often. I have a schedule where I do yoga, weights, alternating nights, meditate before bed. Yeah.
You got it. Yeah, she's got it down. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I keep saying that I want to write. I just need to take the time to do that.
You just got to start the habit.
Absolutely. Right now, a month ago I started lessons on guitar, and it's like, yes, I'm gonna, I'm excited about that.
How are your fingers?
Oh, they're a little sore.
Yeah.
But it's that drive, that melatonin or whatever is released in your brain, right? That says, yeah, you got to do this because you're having fun at it. I enjoy writing. I just don't take time to do it, and that's one of the things that
I've started to journal with the intention of working myself up to writing, but I had to build the activity.
I mean, I read all these how to write, all the prompts and all this kind of good stuff, so it's just now taking the time to really do it.
Well, and setting aside the time is, and regularly, it's just like taking care of your body. You just have to have a schedule and a routine. Obviously, we both need to take some notes from Rhonda. So I implore everyone, go out and find something that brings you rest. Because I think it's going to look, obviously it looks very different for all of us. And with that, please go, if you're enjoying the content we're providing, go out and subscribe and follow and comment and share our episodes out on the social media matrix, if you will, wherever it's at. We are on YouTube as well as all of the podcast streaming. And then with that, guys, we invite you to go out and live your life in full color because playing is pretty boring. Thank you for listening.